The song, You Can Have Him, by Jolene Chapel Hart made waves on America's Got Talent 2022. It was seen as a strong new force in modern country music. I've had some time to think about it. The judges gave them the special golden buzzer for being one of the season's best contestants. They quickly became a media star and were expected to make a big splash after the show. But in just 3 years, the group almost never showed up at big events again. What went on behind the scenes? Why did Chapel Hart slowly stop being in the news? Some facts that haven't been shared will paint a very different picture of this singing group. The story starts with their early years in the south of the United States. There have been a few songs that went bad. It did not really go widespread. The country singing group Chapel Hart is made up of 3 women, Danica Hart, Devon Hart, and Treya Swindle. The 3 were raised in the small Mississippi town of Popularville by their cousins. Church music and family gatherings were very important in shaping their early artistic basis. Swindle, the 3 were close since childhood and came from the Hart family, which has more than 100 members. They often performed at neighborhood events, church services, and other celebrations in the area. Every year, the Hart family got together for jam sessions to work on their harmony and build musical chemistry. Born in 1987, Danica Hart was in charge of deciding the group's direction. She had a deep voice and liked music by Dolly Parton and the Chicks. In the southern U.S., Danica started to play at bars and small outdoor parties. Devon Hart, who was born in 1993, has been known for her modern voice since she was young. She has had more serious vocal training. In high school, she learned music and competed in a number of talent shows before joining the group. Treya Swindle, who was born in 1985, wrote most of the songs and led the art. She had tried working on solo projects before, but nothing really took off. Poplarville, Mississippi, is home. Who knew of Giriwai? Another neighborhood is called Hart's Chapel, and it's a lot like where we grew up. They started Chapel Hart in 2014, while they were living in New Orleans. The name they chose showed both their goals and where they came from. 5. Chapel stood in for the church where they started singing, and Hart talked about their family history. Even though they were from a small town and didn't have much money, they were determined to make their own way in country music, which is usually seen as more rigid and less open to artists who aren't from music cities like Nashville or Austin. Chapel Hart worked on its own from 2014 to 2019, and major media didn't pay much attention to it. They recorded their first songs on their own, rented basic gear and made shift studios, and planned their own shows at fairs, bars, and small outdoor spaces. They mostly played in Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia during this time. The group's unique style came from a mix of Southern storytelling, daily humor, and synchronized performance, even though it wasn't well known. One thing that made them stand out was how they used traditional country themes with modern structures and messages. Instead of copying existing styles, they worked on writing songs that were based on their own experiences, with a focus on female empowerment and the real lives of working-class communities in the South. Early songs like Made for Me, Jesus and Alcohol, and others clearly showed that philosophy, even though they didn't do well at the charts. Chapel Hart had problems with money and getting her work into markets. She also had trouble because she worked in a field that was mostly made up of white artists. As a black female country band, they belonged to a genre that is known for using conservative words and images, and that was BMN. They were once turned down to perform at some events because they didn't look like the right kind of people who would be there. The group stuck to their original plan and didn't change their style to fit in with current trends. By 2020, some of their songs were getting a lot of attention on social networks. Younger viewers, especially African American country music fans, became interested in behind-the-scenes videos and live performance streams. A growing group of people who didn't have many artists to choose from. People began to talk about Danica Devon and Treya as up-and-coming artists who could change the way the country works. But it wasn't until 2022, when they performed on America's Got Talent, that Chapel Hart became a household name. Chapel Hart chose to try out for season 17 of America's Got Talent in 2022. They didn't have a record deal with a big label at that point, and most people had never seen them on national TV. The Mississippi group made it to the top of the music world with their big break at the EGT Stage. Chapel Hart sang a song they wrote called You Can Have Him Jolene at their tryout. The song was a modern, sure answer to Dolly Parton's famous classic Jolene, which is one of the most important songs in traditional country music. Immediately, the judges' response was not what was expected. It was one of the most unique, impressive, and memorable acts of the season, according to Simon Cowell. Heidi Klum said that the group breathed new life into country music, and Howie Mandel said that the show was one of the rarest things to ever happen on TV. All four judges and the studio crowd gave the group a golden buzzer, which was a rare honor that sent them straight to the live shows without going through the intermediate round. Chapel Hart kept up their momentum in the live quarterfinals with a performance of another original song, The Girls Are Back in Town. This song was full of free energy and female empowerment. The show had great staging, great choreography, and a strong presence on stage. Again, both the judges and the crowd gave them good reviews. They were the first female group in several seasons to get a lot of attention from the media right after their first show. Chapel Hart made a memorable moment in the history of the show, even though they didn't make it to the top 5 and were removed in the semi-finals. Their performance on social media sites quickly got tens of millions of views in just 1 week. People on Twitter and Reddit, especially younger people and fans of modern country music, were talking about Jolene a lot with the line, "You can have him, you can have him." After the show, they were asked to perform at a number of AGT-related events, such as AGD All-Stars, and live shows with top contestants from previous seasons. The group also performed as guests on TV shows like The Kelly Clarkson Show and the CMT Music Awards, where they were once seen as up-and-coming artists. In addition to the attention of the public, Chapel Hart started to get interest from media outlets in the music business. Billboard, Rolling Stone, and CMT all wrote about them and praised their songwriting, vocal coordination, and sense of self-reliance. This is a rare honor for artists who don't have big label contracts or mainstream Nashville promotion. Chapel Hart's appearance on American Idol raised their status in the public eye and set them up for a professional music career. More importantly, they became a rare symbol of black women in a field that hasn't always been open to people of color. Hart went from being an independent band that played quietly in the South Chapel to being in the national news with a clear message that they deserve a place in a genre that didn't seem to be made for them at first. That was the high price of success. The group signed a deal with Nashville-based Black River Entertainment in October 2022. Black River Entertainment had worked with many big stars in country music. At this point, the group was officially part of the popular music market. Once they had access to professional production tools, they put more thought into the sound, graphics, and release plan of their next albums. The Girls Are Back in Town. It was first released on its own in 2021, and then it was re-released on iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon Music in early 2023 with some technical changes. The album quickly rose up the digital country music charts, with songs like Tailgate Trophy and I Will Follow getting a lot of streams. The title track, The Girls Are Back in Town, was also chosen to be performed on big TV shows and at festivals. It became a hit, which helped the group reach more people. Chapel Hart put out a new record in May 2023. It was called Glory Days. With songs like Welcome to Fist City Glory Days and American Pride. This album more clearly showed the group's songwriting style and musical identity. The lyrics were praised for being vivid and strong, with strong messages of female strength and modern country structures. According to Rolling Stone, it was a big step forward in how music is thought of, made, and played. Soon after, the band started the Glory Days tour, which went to over 50 big U.S. cities from the middle of 2023 to the beginning of 2024. Chapel Hart played at well-known places like the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville and the Fox Theater in Atlanta. They also played on outdoor stages at music festivals all over the country. They also played at big events like the Louisiana Red River Revel, CMA Fest, and the Stagecoach Festival 2018. At every stop, the group was praised for how well they blended their voices, how active the crowd was, how they interacted with each other, and how their energy stayed high throughout the whole show. Chapel Hart had a lot of problems that were hard to see behind all of those achievements. Multiple health problems, especially fatigue and mental imbalance, were caused by the busy touring schedule. In an interview with Garden and Gun in 2024, Danica Hart said that the members went through a time when they didn't want to go on stage because they were under so much pressure to keep up a consistent performance level over long tours. There was still racial discrimination in the country music business. Chapel Hart had trouble getting into some area markets and on some conservative TV shows, even though the media praised and recognized them as new role models for women of color in the genre. Some organizers asked the group to change their look or not focus on modern elements, which shows the invisible barriers that minority artists often face when they try to work in traditional styles. The group also said that their path to growth had not been easy financially. Before AG, they often had to pay for their own traveling, recording, and post-production costs. At one point in 2018, the group was almost breaking up because they didn't have enough money. A chance show in Nashville helped them get the attention of a producer, which led to bigger opportunities. But the hard times they went through earlier had a lasting effect on their mental health and their ability to make decisions. Each member also had to deal with problems in their own lives. Trea Swindle felt bad about how she looked for a long time, especially when she thought about how she looked compared to standard images of female country artists. In the beginning of their job, Devon Hart, the youngest member, had to work at a grocery store to help pay for the group. Their experiences shaped the lyrics they wrote, which are often honest and grounded, and don't push ideas into a false light. Even though they faced many problems, Chapel Hart stayed dedicated to their music and their fans. After AJT, they didn't go away like a passing fad. Instead, they slowly built a solid base in the music business after traveling and working non-stop for over a year. The group moved on to a new phase. They're no longer just seen as a TV star. They're also starting to be seen as a group of artists with a clear goal and a long-term plan. From the beginning of 2024 to the middle of 2025, Chapel Hart stopped performing on big music stages as often, which made fans very curious about their disappearance. Are they slowly pulling away from the entertainment scene? Or do they have a bigger plan for the future? When you look at their most recent moves, everything will make more sense. The plan is to go back to the first step. In March 2025, a big sign came when the group's official Instagram account shared a picture from the studio with the words, "Working on a new album." The fourth quarter of 2025 is when this project is set to come out. The music will be based on themes of neighborhood, Southern identity, and women in modern society. The group's manager confirmed the news in a short interview with Country Daily in early April 2025, but the official record title and track list had not yet been made public. Before that, on February 14, 2025, the group put out the song Perfect for Me. This was one of the few romantic songs on Chapel Hart's discography, and the group's main YouTube channel has a well-made music video to go with it. In just 2 weeks, more than 1.2 million people watched the video, mostly loyal fans and people who are into country music online. The release showed that the group was slowly reaching out to a wider range of people, both in terms of age and musical taste, while still staying true to the unique style they had created. Chapel Hart performed at community shows in Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, and South Carolina, among other places, in addition to their studio work. They kept getting steady local fans in these places because of how friendly they were on stage, how easy it was to understand their lyrics, and how they interacted directly with their fans. The group performed at the ACM Awards in February 2025 and got a lot of attention from the media for how energetic their live show was. In 2024, they also released their first Christmas record, Heartfelt Family Christmas, which was another important event. Several of the songs on the record mixed traditional country music with soul and gospel sounds, which was very typical of the Southern culture. Even though it didn't do very well in the music business, music sites like Saving Country Music and Wide Open in Country gave it good reviews, especially for the singing harmony and creative way it was put together. Individually, the people in the group also did things on their own to build long-term images of themselves. Trea Swindle is writing a book about Chapel Hart's singing journey and life behind the scenes right now. The project will be released in 2026 with help from a publishing house that focuses on writing about American musicians. At the same time, Danica and Devin Hart are working on duets with other country singers that should be out later this year. Even though they haven't said who their partners are, social media is still a great way for the group to stay in touch with their fans. Halsmians, their Instagram page, a Chapel Hart band, has more than 200,000 followers, and they post regular updates with video clips from recording sessions, tours, and daily life. It's on TikTok where they post short, fun videos that still have their signature sound. Geo sound. Hound. They also have regular live streams and Zoom meetings for fans, especially through their official fan club. It ran from August 2024 to February 2025. Chapel Hart also took part in a number of charity and community art events in Nashville, such as raising money for disabled children and supporting arts grants. And Canita. These events help the group keep a good public image as a caring group, while also making connections with other social groups in the area. Some people no longer think of Chapel Hart as a one-time TV hit. Hit. So they are changing who they are to become an example of an independent artist with long-term goals, a clear plan, and a consistent artistic philosophy. A trip that never ends. In a recent interview, the group said that they still want to win a country Grammy Award within the next 5 years. In the next 5 years. They are also moving forward with plans to open a music school in Popularville, Tennessee, where they are from. The goal of the program is to train and help young artists from areas where professional arts education is hard to get to. Chapel Hart has done something more important in today's music industry, even though they still need to hit the commercial peak of some of their peers. A strong position and a clear character. Here, they are one of the few black women's groups in the country that has been around for a long time and done well. A genre that was long thought to be racial and artistically closed off. Socially closed. Not only have they made room for minority artists, but they have also shown that a country can change without losing its core values. From a business point of view, well-known publications like Billboard, Rolling Stone, and CMT have seen Chapel Hart as a unique example of how modern country music is changing, as saying, They have created a new way of telling stories without changing what they were originally about by keeping the traditional format, while adding modern messages of women's freedom, personal choice, and community. Some people have called it a soft revolution instead of a market shock because it had a big effect on the structure of things. Chapel Hart has decided to stay calm in the face of ongoing arguments about how they mix genres in their work, which is worth mentioning. Some traditional country fans aren't sure about the group's use of pop and R&B elements because they think it might change the style of the music. The group, on the other hand, says they are not breaking down old ideals, but rather showing how a new generation really lives. Instead of answering critics directly, they use their music to make their point, reiterating their message with each release. Their determination has helped them keep a group of dedicated fans. Chapel Hart is becoming more well-known in foreign venues outside of the southern U.S. market where they have often played. The group announced in 2025 that they would be playing at the Keep It Country Festival in the UK, which increased their popularity outside of North America. This is their first time performing at a specific foreign country music event, which means they are now more well-known in the business. The plan to open a music school in Popularville is seen as a smart move in the field of arts education. The project's goals are to teach performance skills and to get younger people interested in country music's culture, language, and past in a way that is more open to everyone. The group says that this school will be a place where young singers can learn without having to leave their neighborhoods. This will help the growth of local music talent. Chapel Hart doesn't just want to be on the charts or win big awards in the future. It also means changing how musicians interact with fans and give back to the community. They created a growth model that works well in today's fragmented music scene, where long-term influence and authenticity are valued more than short-term media attention. Chapel Hart's journey from an independent music group in Mississippi to a new sign of diversity in country music shows that hard work and a strong sense of who you are can make a big difference in the entertainment business. They are the voice of a new generation of artists and an inspiration to many groups that have never had a say in this genre before. What do you think about the journey of Chapel Hart? Just write your thoughts in the box below. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on alerts to see our newest movies.